Hi, I'm Lara Sky, I'm a professional dominatrix, and today I thought we would talk a little about exploring your boundaries and how to communicate them with your partner. So it's something that a lot of people struggle with when they first come into the scene, but it's very important to have very clearly established boundaries, to have your safe words come into that, and you can have so many different likes and dislikes, hard limits, soft limits, and your partner obviously has to fit into that. So I thought it'd be quite a fun subject to go over today. I'll try and make this quite general, basic advice that you could use whether you're online or in person. The first thing I'll say is that if anyone disrespects your limits, you should instantly leave that situation. They are not someone you want to play with. It's different if someone says, okay, you have this soft limit and you enjoy this. Is that something we could work on together? But to say, I don't respect what you've said, I'm going to do it anyway, is completely and utterly wrong. And the conversation around perhaps testing some of your limits would generally come later on in a relationship, not straight away. Something important, you get a lot of fake doms. I hate to say this, but it is quite often straight men who are like the daddy dom, who particularly go for younger submissive people who they feel they can manipulate, and they are just abusive rather than actually being dominant, and then people don't really understand the difference. There can be a little bit of love bombing and all that sort of thing. So it is quite important when you're getting into kind of like fetishy spaces and any kind of play that might be a little bit dangerous, whether physically or psychologically, or can create like uneven power dynamics, that you are very clear on your own boundaries and that you communicate them properly. And obviously, like I've said, if anyone disrespects them, tells you that you're not allowed safe words, that you have to do what they tell you, and they're the only person. If they try and alienate you from your family and your friends, if they try and remove your access to the internet, if they try and do anything that you might at the time not see what they're doing, but that is a form of abuse. And unfortunately, it can be quite common in power dynamics where someone takes the role of like the master and the provider with someone who is submissive and looking to be owned and all that sort of stuff. So let's go into how you would communicate your limits. So what I like subs to do is, if they're completely new and they've no idea, I'll get them to go through one of these sort of BDSM checklists, and it'll list maybe 100 different fetishes. If they don't know what it is, they'll go and look it up and they'll say, do I like this? Do I not? Is it something that I would maybe try in the future? Is it a hard no? So you've got that kind of basis, and you would normally, if you're with your partner, you'd maybe go through it together and have your discussion. It's quite a good place to actually sit with the other person. And that's kind of if you're going into something fresh and you're really looking for a very broad like kind of experience, and then you can narrow down the things that you really want to do. If you already have something that you want to try, the best way is just to kind of work out what your own likes and dislikes are within that. So say it's something like dressing up. You might have an idea of like what you want to dress up in. You might already have the costume or the outfit, but you perhaps have a limit that you don't want to be seen in public, or you don't want to have photos taken of you, or there can be certain names or words that you don't want used. So you need to be able to tell your partner, especially if you're doing like gender play, puppy play, anything like that, you might only want to have specific pronouns when you're in that subspace, or you might want sort of degradation, and you might say, okay, I want you to be very mean to me, but these words are off limits, or do not be nice to me during that time. So that sort of thing. And it is very vague. I know I'm not giving you an exact answer because I can. It is very much based on you. So it's about having that conversation with your partner. And it's great if you can sit down together and go through things and have that proper discussion. So when you're going into that conversation, you're obviously going to have like kind of idea of what you want to talk about, whether it is going through that checklist, or choose maybe like one or two fetishes that you really want to go into, or maybe like your relationship dynamic. And you're going to talk about what your personal expectations are what your limits are, your likes and dislikes, anything you want your partner to do, and any accommodations that you're going to make for your partner. And your partner would ideally have that kind of in place already so that you can really make a plan together. And as for like safe words, you can choose your own safe word. I personally prefer to work on like a traffic light system where you've got your like green for go, amber, orange, yellow for kind of like slow down, stop doing this for right now, but don't instantly stop. And then your red is your hard stop, completely stop everything, remove like whatever is happening, take the person out of the room potentially, and just make sure that everything's back to normal and they feel safe and happy. So you obviously need to have quite a lot of trust with your partner. They need to know what to do at certain times, and obviously the safe word's one of them. Some people might not want you to stop if they say stop or no. That's quite common in certain plays, but you would have that conversation first. So this whole thing is about your own personal limits, making sure that you've clearly said them. I find it quite useful as well to have maybe like a handy list. So put exactly what your hard limits are there, because during a session it might become hard to communicate, or you might get caught up. And if you have something in front of you that you can look at, if you think, I'm not sure, I mean, maybe your partner's got something in their mouth and they can't tell you, so you can just check. So things like that are very easy and simple. Like the traffic light system is very easy to remember. Traffic lights, where you might forget your safe word, especially if you're anxious or you have like a fear response, or you get too deep into subspace, which is kind of, I guess, like a feeling of euphoria or disconnection with your body and surroundings. So yeah, subspace is something as well, which isn't always negative, but if someone goes into subspace, then you would need aftercare, which is probably another video. So I do feel like I've been going on for quite a while and not really saying a lot, other than you really want to sit down with your partner, have your own personal limits, and don't let anyone kind of change them. And I think that's all I can really say. It's probably what you've heard already or what you were thinking, but sometimes it's good just to have someone to say it in very plain language that you're on the right track. So I'll make a video about aftercare to release at some point. I'll film it after this one and then I'll put it up at some point, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on all my other platforms.